Well, first of all, do you believe that there are? I would love to know if you actually do believe in evil forces.
No, I don't.
You don't actually. Okay.
I got a question for the rabbi when
Oh,
y'all
go
get a
ahead.
chance.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I run across people that evidently is listening to you or someone like you, and I know you deal with this on a daily basis. The traditional Judaism, close your eyes and just believe whatever everybody tells you. I mean, I just want to know what you say to these people that are, they come out of Christianity, they go into Judaism, they convert. The rabbis, Judaism, and traditions, that's everything. And anyone that comes against them is a heretic and everything else. So that's my question.
Yeah, so I tell people to start from the bottom up. Don't start announcing what you believe with what you just heard your rabbi say. In other words, if you're a Jew, your job is to start at Torah. Understand what Torah meant to the people who first accepted Torah. Now, Judaism, the belief system of those who were in the Torah covenant, doesn't really make sense if you don't have the land of Israel. So what we're living nowadays is called exile Judaism. All these commands, this is why the closest description of hell that we have in the Torah is not having rain, is being exiled, being occupied, not seeing your children grow old, not having peace. That's what hell is. It's hell on earth. And heaven is seeing your children grow old, having peace. All this got twisted because we were outside of the land. And this is where notions of heaven and hell and Messiah and a celestial bailout and reincarnation and all these Kabbalistic notions, this is why they arose, to make it make sense outside of an agrarian society. If you start from there, I believe that you could continue and still include what's called rabbinic Judaism, oral law. However, there has to be somewhere where you cap it off. You just can't keep expanding what you call Judaism to include things that were made up 100 years ago. Because if you keep changing it, the religion you end up with is not going to be the religion that the Hebrews started off with. Only because some guy with a long beard says it doesn't mean you have to believe it.
Do you believe that if, and I know you've heard this question, but do you believe if Moses would walk into a synagogue, a shul today, would he recognize what they were teaching?
Well, no, for sure. Now, Moses is sort of an extreme example, but even rabbis from the Talmud, because there's rulings that post-date Moses that are still binding because there was a Sanhedrin up to the 3rd or 4th century of the Common Era. There was an authority, a transmitted authority that was handed down through some progression, but that ended when there was no court. Kabbalah really threw a shoe on everything. And it wasn't initially known as Kabbalah. Kabbalah was really a unified effort or the result of years and years of unchecked mystical traditions gone wild. It first appeared in a book called the Zohar as a literary body, although the ideas predated it in many other smaller books. The Zohar itself didn't make such an impact till the Arizal came. The Arizal made the Zohar popular, and it was Hasidus that made the Arizal popular. And they basically started building off each other until you have what we have today, almost a new form of Judaism that doesn't resemble biblical nor Talmudic Judaism. And it keeps on building. Like, people keep on adding books. Every 10 years, someone claims to find a book that was written by a rabbi who lived 2,000 years ago. And it's bullcrap. It's all pseudepigrapha, but no one challenges it. The Zohar, when it first came out, was only a commentary to the Torah, a small little book. And now the Zohar is probably 20 times the size of the New Testament. They just keep adding to it and keep on claiming that it was written by Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. And this goes unchecked because no one wants to step on anyone's toes. There has to be checks and balances in your religion. If it just keeps on changing and no one wants to challenge some rabbi who speaks nice and looks religious, then Judaism is going to end up destroying itself.
I have an interesting question then, Rabbi.
Yes.
Tell me if did the court that had a legal jurisdiction, did they ever come in contact with any sort of Kabbalistic notion?
Sure. The Talmud is full of mysticism.
Okay.
But the difference is that people knew that the power of the court, even today, only exists in voting. Like, if you don't have a jury, in cases of a king, sometimes the king himself acts like the judge of the court. Just one judge. We know that metaphysical ideas can't be voted into existence. Only legal ideas. that we vote on legal things. If the court had the power to vote on metaphysical ideas, we would vote in peace, and we would vote in the Messiah,
Right.
and we would vote in that the rockets should go the other way.
So Baruch Hashem. So they did have contact. People, rabbis with actual legal authority to make rulings, did have contact with mystical notions and ideas of Judaism, but they never occupy them. Their how could I put this? They never gave it consideration. Would that be a politically correct term? They never gave it consideration in terms of actual halacha.
People didn't take it seriously. They're just stories. Christianity is built from it. All these ideas of a Messiah came not from the Zohar, because the Zohar appeared in the 13th century of the Common Era. It came out of what was known as the Kabbalah of the Second Temple period, which is known as Gnosticism.
Careful, Rabbi Nero wants you dead there, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Because isn't that what they done to the Gnostics? They hunted them down, didn't they? And killed every one of them, buddy. They sure did. They hunted them down.
So what? It would have been great though, Rabbi, if these ruling bodies that actually had halakhic authorities, they should have made a ruling. They should have saw the writing on the wall. They should have seen that this would have gotten out of control, and made some sort of ruling saying, giving us some sort of clear way. Yeah, let's not attach ourselves too much to the Agadah, the folklore and legend.
Didn't it say, not to get into the there was things of God, and then not to
well, there is a statement in the Torah that says that things are right. The things that are in heaven is for God, and things on earth are for man.
They're men, right?
So
right.
It's Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29.
So how can we not listen to that though? I mean, that clearly seems like we shouldn't dive too far deep into the unknown and this mystical stuff. Don't get me wrong, I like mysticism too, like everyone else. It's great stuff, but it seems like it rules people's lives. It seems like people would rather live by the Zohar than the actual ethics of the Torah.
I am so glad you brought that up, John, because I want to ask the rabbi about all these rules and regulations that supposedly exist in Judaism. Was it something like 600 rules or something like that?
Well, the 613 commandments, yeah.
You probably keep 400 of them and you don't know it.
Really?
For sure. A lot of those commands are ethical commands. For example, honoring your parents is one of those commands. Fighting evil is one of those commands. Putting murder to death is another. There's a lot of them that we do as part of our daily life, and we didn't even know it because we come from a biblically influenced society.
Right.
So,
but I think Vaughn, what you're talking about is more like the Jewish. Because I think what you're trying to say is the commandments, like you have to put your shoes on a certain way every morning, like in Judaism. I know people are their heads are gonna turn like the Exodus, but technically there's actually an authoritative way to put on your shoes and how to take off your shoes. Putting your shoes on is not actually halacha, Rabbi.
It's not a law. It's a Kabbalistic custom. The whole thing of washing which hand first has also Kabbalah. It's a shame when people don't make a distinction, because there's people who walk away from religion because it's saying, I'm not going to follow these stupid things. It's not practical. I mean, what shoe you put on first? Or that whenever you walk into a room, you should walk in with your right foot first. It's kind of,
would you pay attention to something like? I wouldn't even pay attention to something like that.
No, what it does is it makes you obsessive compulsive.
I would think, I would think.
Because if you really think that God cares about all this stuff, you're going to make such an effort to basically watch yourself breathe.
That's funny, yeah.
He's right though. I mean that's how these people get so paranoid. I think, man, is because they focus on every little tidbit thing, and their mind just goes, it pops,
Now, no laws is another extreme. I believe that a good amount of laws leaves you perceptive enough to live a perceptive existence. I mean, the average person can't remember what he ate for breakfast, but the Jew does. And the Jew knows enough, because he has to bless the food. He acknowledges God, and he pays tribute daily, constantly, at least 100 times a day, with blessings to God for everything he has. Now, the average non-believer doesn't care enough. So what is he going to think? Nature? Nor does he care.
No, they don't care.
To give tribute for the life in his children, or the fact that his wife is still healthy. Tribute is a very important thing, like having gratitude, which gives you the right attitude.